Okay. Harold. There he is. Always freaking me out with that background. Do you remember what happened that one time that if you were there, I was like, that's totally a fake background, totally a fake background. And then all of a sudden somebody walked by, freaked me out. Harold, did you jump on at the end of the blessing? Did you hear the end of the blessing?
I heard the end.
Fabulous, wonderful, fantastic. Okay, we are in a double portion. Behar-Bechukotai. Behar-Bechukotai. We are focusing on the Jubilee year. What does that even mean? Jubilee. That's in the 50th year. These numbers, right, are very, very interesting. 49 after we have, well, we'll get into it, right? So Shabbat, a week is how long? 6 days, and then the seventh day, God rested. Shabbat, right? We have the same thing with land. Same thing with land, but instead of six days and rests on the seventh day, it's 6 years. And then on the seventh year, you got to let it rest. But we're going to get into that. We'll get into that. All right, I'm about, oh, push the wrong button here. I am going to share my screen. Here it is. Is this the one I want to share? Let's see.
It's shared already. No?
Now it is.
There it is.
There it is. All right. Let's look at this thing here. This is bananas. Are we ready? I got my crew. I'm gonna just fix you on my screen a little bit. Fabulous. All right. We're gonna jump up here. Look at this. You ready for this? I'm just gonna read some, then we're gonna break it down in a bit. You shall observe my laws and faithfully keep my rules, that you may live upon the land in security. The land shall yield its fruit, and you shall eat your fill, and you shall live upon it in security. And should you ask, what are we to eat in the seventh year, if we neither sow nor gather our crops? I will ordain my blessing for you in the sixth year, so that it shall yield a crop sufficient for 3 years. So when you sow in the eighth year, right, after the years, you get to start up again. You'll still be eating grain from that crop. You will be eating the old until the ninth year, until its crops come in. So what's happening here is like, whoa, what are we supposed to do? Right? Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. We're gonna fill it. Well, oh, we got another person coming in. We got some more. We've got, in the sixth year, it's going to be like a lot of stuff. So you don't even have to worry about the seventh year, because you're still going to be eating the stuff from before. Okay. This reminds me, what happened, if you remember, when the Israelites, right, were walking around and we get the manna, right? The manna is coming down at night. They wake up. Oh, they're so beautiful. It only comes down for 6 days. So what does God say on day number 6? Don't eat so much. Don't eat so much. Save some for Shabbat. But the people are like, yeah. They don't do it, right? They don't do it. Then all of a sudden, they're hungry. We have no food. Hey, I told you not to eat it on the 6th, all that stuff, but you did anyway. So now you're going to have to wait, right? And it's like a quote unquote punishment, right? Punishment. We're going to hold on to that idea. All right. So I kind of gave you a little bit of what's going on here. Now, this is interesting. We've got land. We've got that we're working the land. We've got that in the 50th. Oh, we'll get into it in a second. Here it is. Good. I just want to put this in our back pocket. This is from last week. Okay, I just want to put this in our pocket from last week. You shall not hate your kinfolk in your heart, reprove your kin, but incur no guilt on their account. Famous line right here. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against members of your people. Love your fellow as yourself. I am Adonai. All right. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Oh boy.
Penina, what you got? What does that mean?
I think because they didn't have at the time papers,
to prove ownership, that maybe one generation that they thought that they actually didn't live more than 60 years at that time. That's the way people are trying to figure out how long was the span of the people that came up.
Before we, hold on, Pnina, I'm gonna cut you off. Before we start talking about land ownership or anything like that.
Wait, so let me finish.
Only asking about this. Don't even bring up land.
Okay.
Let's look at this in a vacuum.
Okay. So the person, the new generation, it's kind of like you have to teach them how to treat the land. So if they think that they are new, but they are young, they'll know what to do. So they give them a blueprint that even if the parents are not around anymore, to teach them what to do, they tell them that if the land has to be taken care of and give it rest every
But Pnina, this has nothing to do with the land yet.
Okay.
All the land stuff comes after this line.
It has to do with including the whole everybody, that they should make sure that the land that they were given is the other people that belongs to the family or belong to that land also will be taken care of. It's not the land that's here. It's the point that the people has to be maintain the connection with that
To
land.
each other.
And
Okay,
the new generation
because again, this says nothing about land. Nothing
Really?
about land.
Okay.
Even last week, this was something different. That's why I just want to
Okay.
focus on this. It's classic
Okay.
line, right? Everybody hears that. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's even
Right.
in the sanctuary at Hermes,
Yes.
up at the
Yes.
top. Love your neighbor as yourself, love your neighbor as yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. So if I just said that line to you, we didn't talk about anything else.
Okay.
What does
All right.
that line, what would we take from that line?
Live
Just that
neighborly with the
line.
other nations. You need to live neighborly with the other people who live there.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad you said that. We're gonna move on now. All right, here we go. This is the Jubilee year. I'm just gonna read. It's gonna be a lot of details, but we need the details in order to get to what we're gonna talk about after. All right, get ready for this. You shall count off 7 weeks of years, 7 times 7 years, so that the period of 7 weeks of years gives you a total of 49 years. That's just very detailed, very detailed. Then you shall sound the horn loud in the 7th month on the 10th day of the month, the Day of Atonement. You shall have the horn sounded, right? The shofar throughout your land, and you shall hallow the 50th year. Okay, get ready. You shall proclaim release throughout the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you shall return to your holding, and each of you shall return to your family. Return to your holding, return to your family. This is talking about land, and it's talking about people. Okay, land and people. Get ready, get ready. Land as in returning the land, and people as returning the people, if they're working for you. Okay, the 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. You shall not sow, neither shall you reap the aftergrowth or harvest the untrimmed vines, for it is a jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You may only eat the growth direct from the field. In this year of Jubilee, each of you shall return to your holding. When you sell property to your neighbor or buy any from your neighbor, you shall not wrong one another. In buying from your neighbor, you shall deduct only for the number of years since the Jubilee, and in selling to you, that person shall charge you only for the remaining crop years. The more such years, the higher the price you pay. The fewer such years, the lower the price you pay. For what is being sold to you is a number of harvests. Do not wrong one another, but fear your God, for I am Adonai, your God. Okay. What is going on there? Oh, this is fascinating. It is like if you ever tried to buy a house or property in Palm Springs, in certain areas, you don't actually own that house. You don't actually own that house in certain areas. Have you heard this before? You know this. Brad, why are you shaking your head?
I never heard that before.
We have it here too.
New to me.
Right,
Yes.
go.
Well, it's you effectively have a lease on the land
Why?
because it reverts back to the owner.
But
But
who is
what-
that?
Who
I
is
say
that?
God.
No,
Well,
I'm talking
in-
about Palm Springs. Yes, okay, God also owns Palm Springs. I know, because it's the second promised land as far as I'm concerned.
No, the original Indians, maybe?
So the Native Americans, it's the tribal lands, right? It goes back to so it's and that you also have this in Israel itself today, right? That it's the state who owns the land. When you buy it, it's really, you are leasing it for like 99 years.
From the Keren Kayemet לישראל,
And
right?
you're leasing it for 99 years, and then, but what you actually own is the stuff that you build on it. Okay, right? So Merle, you're saying the same thing as in Arizona?
Oh, yeah. The Scottsdale Community College, which is huge, is on leased 99-year property because it's on the Indian reservation,
Okay, good.
which
That's
is like,
wonderful, fantastic.
10 minutes from our house.
Here we go. We're going back now. So it's not really true then that we buy and sell the land, right? Because it's like the more such years, the higher the price you pay, the fewer such years, the lower price you pay for what is being sold is the number of harvests.
Right.
It's not the land, it's what's being produced. You don't actually own the land. Okay, this is good. Here we go. Check this out. But the land must not be sold beyond reclaim, for the land is mine. You are but strangers, resident with me, right? Throughout the land that you hold, you must provide for the redemption of the land. So it's like we are stewards. It's not really ours, all of this, right? We are stewards of the land. What is the difference between being a steward of land versus an owner of land? Steward of land versus owner of land. What is the difference? What's the difference between an
Steward
owner and steward?
Steward as if you take care of it. You guard it. Owner, you can own it and just think that you can do anything you want. But if you are a steward, you're supposed to follow certain kind of guidelines that makes you a steward. So otherwise you're just an owner, and you can just forget that you even own it. But if you're a steward, you pay attention. It's a part of your daily routine that you need to constantly take care of it. It's like a job. If you are a custodian someplace, you are a custodian. That's what we are. Custodian of the land. We take care of it. We don't own it.
So it's the same thing.
Belongs
We
to
use
God.
that when we think of, we say that to the kids like at camp when we're like, the camp is filthy. You can't just throw your Oreo wrapper down there on the floor, right? We have to take it. Yes, this is your home. We all talk about this as being our home, but then you have a responsibility to your
Right.
home.
Isn't that why we clean up camp on Shabbat?
Yes, we clean, and we don't even just clean up. We clean our cabins every day.
Right.
Right? You got to take care of it. Why? Because, where does that idea come from? It comes from this, that none of this is really yours, right? You are but stewards.
Right.
And it's an interesting way, right, that you know that teaching that says we hold, there's like these two thoughts that we hold together at the same time. You could put one in each pocket, right? I am but dust and ash. And then in the other hand, everything was created for me, right? If you look at just one of those, I am but dust and ash, that can also lead to, what do I care about taking care of anything? Because I'm nothing. If I solely look at everything was created for me, I can do whatever I want. Who cares? I can do whatever I want. But if you put the two together, right, it's about humility and at the same time prosperity. Right? Fascinating. Here we go. We're going to keep going because this is, all right, here we go. This is going to bake your noodle in a little bit. All right, here we go. If your kin under you continue in straits and must be given over to you, do not subject them to the treatment of a slave.
Right.
Okay. Remaining with you as a hired or bound laborer, they shall serve with you only until the Jubilee year. Then they, along with any children, shall be free of your authority. They shall go back to their family and return to their ancestral holding. For they are my servants, whom I freed from the land of Egypt. They may not give themselves over into servitude. Oh man, there's a lot over here. I'm going to stop right there. You shall not rule over them ruthlessly. You shall fear your God. In your own words, what's going on right here? Go ahead, Brad.
Well, we talking about what do they call it? A certain type of servitude. Involuntary? No, what was the word? Involuntary servitude? I
This
think
is voluntary almost because they sell
where
themselves.
but it was for a limited time. It wasn't and we had this in the United States during the period of slavery, where you had slaves who were permanently uh, uh, attached, but there were others who, at a certain period of time, their servitude came to an
Indentured
end, and
servants, right?
indentured. That's what the word was. I forgot the term of art. So it was indentured servitude. So I think that's a bit of this, is it not?
So that's a great question. So what are we? We're not talking about slaves. These are not slaves.
Well, I mean, they are during that period where they are where they've lost their liberty. Yes, I mean
But
they
only
are
for a short amount of time. So
right.
that's the cuckoo part here. Get ready. Let's go back to the text. Let's go back to the text. Do you remember, like, let's go to the videotape? Do you remember that from back in the day? Sports news. Anyway, here we go. Back to the text. Check this out. All right, I kind of wrote down here. For they are my servants, right? They are my servants. Because if your kin under you continue in straits and must be given over to you, do not subject them to the treatment of a slave, remaining with you as hired or bound laborer. They're not slaves. They shall serve with you only. Then, along with their children, they're not slaves. They are laborers. They are bound laborers, indentured servants, because who are we actually slaves to? Eved?
I
God.
don't know.
Only God, right? Let my people go so they may serve me. To go from Eved Pharaoh to Eved Adonai. We translate it as worshiper. We've talked about that, but you could still translate it as slave because they are my servants, not yours. They can work for you, but they belong to me, right? They may not give themselves over into servitude. All right. You shall not rule them ruthlessly or fear God. However, now, such male and female slaves as you have, it is from the nations round about you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also buy them from among the children of alien residents among you, or from their families that are among you, whom they begot in your land. These shall become your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property for all time. Such you may treat as slaves. But as for your Israelite kin, no one shall rule ruthlessly over another. If a resident alien among you has prospered, and your kin being in straits comes under that one's authority and is given over to the resident alien among you, or to an offshoot of the alien's family, your kin shall have the right of redemption, even after having been given over. Okay? So it's as if those living among you have to follow the Jubilee year rules, commandments, mitzvot, even though they technically are not being commanded to do so. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. They are not bachar banu. We are bachar banu. They are not bachar banu. Right? And then it gets tricky. So let's just say what's going on here then. Let's see if we can just kind of talk through it as in terms of the people.
There is something very important that should be mentioned when
Let's
it comes
mention it.
Okay. They are very sensitive about the rule is very sensitive to the people who chose to come with the Jews out of Egypt. So he is warning the people that are owning the land that they do have neighbors, might be from the people that chose to come with him.
But we know it's mostly not that.
They weren't Jews, but yet they chose that one God.
Right, Pnina, but they're not talking about those people.
I think he is.
He's talking about when you go in there, you're going to be you're in this land. You're surrounded by the
he is
other
mentioning
other
those people. He said,
nations.
"Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim." They were chosen by God to follow God, to leave Egypt with the other people. So he is mentioning that don't be a stranger to the ones who weren't Jews to begin with, that came out with you. They chose to come with you, and they chose me as their God. Yes?
I don't see that. It's talking about once you're already in the land of Israel and you've got your land and the people are going to be around you.
Yes, exactly.
Those are different. Those are people who are already there.
They chose to come. That's what he's saying.
No, I don't believe that's what he said.
Read the Hebrew again.
I did. Okay, but check this out. Okay, are we ready?
Okay.
Now, when we talk about, we'll go past this one. All right, here we go. The total shall be, this is all about the remain, shall pay back for the redemption.
אשר הוצאתי אותך מארץ מצרים. That's what it keeps saying. I took him out of the land of Egypt.
Yes, but it's not, it's talking about his people.
Weren't Jews to begin with.
He's talking about his people, not the people who decided to come along. I mean, maybe that's one interpretation. All right, here we go.
Wait, Rabbi, can I ask a question? I just want to be sure I'm clear. Doesn't this seem to be saying that Israelites who fall on hard times, they can indenture themselves, and this is a temporary condition for them. However, if you're not an Israelite, you can be bound into slavery without a time limit.
Correct.
Is that?
That's what it says.
The gist? Okay.
Okay, so let's now.
Okay. Translation in English.
Let's look at, I have another question. So, if an Israelite sells land to another Israelite, what happens in the Jubilee year?
It reverts back to the original seller.
Reverts back. Okay. What if? You ready for this? This is the noodle baking part right here. What if Israelite Aleph sells land to Israelite Bet? After the Jubilee year, Israelite Bet gives it back. But what if during that time, Israelite Aleph sells land to Israelite Bet, and Israelite Bet sells part of that land to a non-Israelite? What happens in the Jubilee year?
Who is the non-Jew that you say?
Let's say it's somebody who
Who are the
you
anti-Israelites?
I'm not,
that
it is not, let's say it's not the people who came with you. They're not necessarily living among you. They are living outside of you in their own kingdoms, their own communities, their own whatever. They're not living among you. They're living outside of you. And you sell land to that person that is yours, right? If, let's say I am an Israelite living in South Carthay Circle, or Pico Robertson,
How
Fairfax.
did you get there to begin with?
That's not the point. I'm trying to make
Oh.
I am there. This is me. I'm living in this land. This is the promised land. I have land here. I decide, you know what? I want to sell it to my neighbor. Hey, great. They're going to buy the land. Fabulous, wonderful, fantastic. Then an investor from Encino comes to my neighborhood, not Jewish, not part of my community, no, but wants to buy part of the land because now we want to build something else there. And that person who I sold it to, my neighbor, sells more land to him. That person is not obligated, right? The people living in the next kingdom over are not obligated to return the land b'chalbanu, right? Through this Jubilee mitzvot. But Israelite Bet sold land that he was supposed to return to Israelite Aleph. So what happens to that land that Israelite Bet sold to the people from the kingdom over? What happens? Israelite Aleph is supposed to get the land back, but he didn't own it, and he sold it to somebody who's not Jewish. What happens to that land?
I have to read the rules in Encino to see what happens.
What happens to that land? Because, right? He wasn't supposed to sell the land to the non-Jew. Right? It wasn't his to sell.
Right.
Right? Because he didn't actually own it. Israelite Aleph owns it. That's the land that was given to them. Own.
Things
It
like
was
this
like a
happen a lot.
sublease. So basically, he's subletting his apartment.
Yeah.
Right? Go, Brad.
So it would seem, I'm just guessing that the answer is the land would remain outside of the tribe, and there'd have to be some type of financial settlement to make the original Aleph whole.
Perhaps, or the bet needs to make restitution to the non-Jew because Aleph is getting that land back. Because it's not his to give away anyway. It's not Aleph's ability to give away money restitution. That is not God's. The land is God's.
Well,
right?
the land is
Because you can't give
God's.
that money back to God.
But
God doesn't want the money.
The land is God's, no matter whose land it is.
Well, it's specific. Yes, but in this case, the non-Jew is not bound by those Jubilee laws. But the Jews are bound by the Jubilee laws, which means that Bet wasn't allowed to sell it to the non-Jew in the first place. It's got to go back to Aleph. So what does that say about the relationships between the Jews and the non-Jews?
I think all these laws supposed to maintain peace. So people should live among each other peacefully and work it out peacefully. And I want to
Peace,
tell you,
but not coexistence.
yes, not necessarily,
Not
but
coexistence, you can't live. So what is it?
with
That means the
respect,
non-Jew's gonna come in here and
Comes-
rent it and have to give it back?
yeah,
That's
you
up
should
to them,
respect
but they
each
don't
other.
have to.
People should
It
respect
feels
each
to me
other.
almost
That's
the
it.
opposite. It's these laws are intended to keep us separate
I don't think so.
from those around us. Because if you're not allowed to, and they have to, if the rules don't apply, if you live, how can you live with people if the rules don't apply to everybody?
It did apply to everybody.
They don't apply to everybody.
Okay. There could be a solution. Can I just tell you a situation today in Israel, in Jordan? They have peace. Okay, there was a big war there, you know that, in 1948 and everything. Yet, Jordan is in peace with Israel. So there was a group of soldiers that came to our shul in Cleveland, and they showed us videos how the agriculture people in Israel, the kibbutz members, a lot of the kibbutzim, people that are farmers, are working together with the Jordanians on the territory that now is Jordan. But it is in an area where they both are raising crops, and they're really actually working together. They're trying to teach each other what works and what's not, what to grow, what will work. So there is a situation where people could talk to each other and figure this one out.
But that is humans.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with
the laws.
God's laughing. He's like, you think you're cooperating, you think you're sharing stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not yours.
It belongs to
mine.
somebody else.
You can't deal with them. That's people. That's why it's not, it's.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. That's up to each person.
Does
Carry a
that
sense of justice in their.
Is it? But that goes back to my point of, we're talking about the slaves, we're talking about land. Let's remember, there's a difference between the Jews and non-Jews, slaves, indentured servants, owning land, renting land, giving it back. Whose land is it? Now, this is the part that I want to go back. Brad, you got a point before we go back?
I was just wondering, how does all of this work for inherited land that isn't bought or sold, but inherited?
That's exact, but inherited, it's still within your family.
But how do you calculate the Jubilee year?
It doesn't need to be calculated because it's not about the individual owner. It's about the family,
Okay.
the tribe, the descendants, right? It's not about one owner. It's about the descendants. That's why it's like, it goes back to the descendants, this family goes back to this descendants, this family. Even though it starts, with uncles, and then does it go to the daughters of Zelophehad? Who gets the land? Does it go to another? All that kind of good stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about the Israelite people and going back to what this tribe was initially given.
So the Jubilee year is a Jubilee year for everybody experiences the Jubilee year in the same year, is what you're saying.
Great question. Brad, that's a good question. Yes. All right. Now let's hold on to that. And I want to go back to. Oh, Padina's upset with me today. I love it.
I'm not.
I'm just joking.
I am
Here we go.
No, not at all. I love it.
Here we go. We're going back to. You shall not hate your kinfolk in your heart, reprove your kin, but incur no guilt on their account. You shall not take vengeance or bear grudge against members of your people. Love your fellow as yourself.
Right.
Who does this apply to?
everyone.
Everyone. No, but it can't. It can't apply to everybody. That's the point. Because if you say love your fellow as yourself, we are extrapolating on treat your fellow as you treat yourself. That can't be possible if the rules do not apply to both sets of people.
He's trying to.
So do we ignore that
Well, the question then, because it's not ignore, it's how are you going to interpret it? We do that so often where we just take a line, right? And then we use it to justify our actions. We use the line to justify our actions or what we believe based on other things. But if we're looking direct, and if we're only doing like a direct translation, right? Simple, rather than going deep beyond it, you could use this. You ready for this? You ready for this cuckoo banana stuff? I could use this to use this line. Say, I am only going to focus on Jewish people the way that I define who is a Jew. Right? These are my people. Love your fellow. This is my people. Because even in the way that I took it out of this translation, these are from Sepharia, right? This beautiful text that you could do. It had in parentheses, Israelite, your fellow Israelite. I took it out specifically for this conversation, right? Because you could use the same line to say, no. It's about everybody. Right, I'll go back to Pnina's point where I was being, a kotz petachat, the pain in the tush. That
Next time.
who is it? Is it living among? What does that even mean? Is it meant to bring us together? Is it meant not to?
No.
Who are we considering kin? What happens with marriages? What's happened with all these things? So somebody who is very open and accepting and inclusive can use this, love your fellow as yourself. And somebody who is exclusive
It's just that it was a noon.
can use the same line to justify their ideology. That's the part that totally bakes my noodle.
Go eat. I already ate. Go.
But you see what I'm saying?
Oh, no, not for me. Thank you.
We use this.
I love you too.
We use this line or any of these lines, right, to weave within an already defined or evolving ideology. So it's not necessarily always so clear, but that's also what's beautiful, is that you get to wrestle with these ideas. All right. Now, what you got for us, Pnina? Pnina, you're muted.
All right. I know that the Baron Rothschild came to Israel. He had a lot of money. He was also the treasurer, I think, in Britain at the time or something like that, and bought a whole bunch of land from the people that owned it at the time. They weren't Jewish. They were from the Arab population, who sold it voluntarily and built two cities that till today are the main product of the wine business in Israel. Zichron Yaakov and the other city next to it, which will come to me in a minute. Anyhow, so this, and it's already, I'm talking about like the first in the beginning when he was still a personality to be contended with in England. So now this place is still, it's part of Israel. It's a thing that's the continued making business till today, and we're talking many years later. So you mean to tell me that the Torah told us to give it back to who? To whoever sold it willingly?
I guarantee you, a Haredim would say they never, the people who were living there before, they didn't actually own it. And Rothschild did not own it. The Haredim would absolutely say that. It's not theirs. They absolutely would say that. I'm not saying that.
Never heard
I am saying that this is an interpretation of the text if you read it in that shot, in that
maybe they offered back and they didn't want it. They got money for it.
The points you are making are not there. Yes, you're right in all of those things, but it's not relevant to, it's Yerushalayim shel Mata, Yerushalayim shel Mala.
Okay, okay, all right, okay, all right. So
Go, Brad.
the intention should be there, but if it doesn't work,
But
it
we are
doesn't.
humans and we are flawed. We are only created in an image. We are not the thing. Go, Brad.
All righty.
Well, I wonder if our misreading of these the sentence comes from maybe the Christian rephrasing of the same idea. What is the Christian rephrasing of, love? Is it love thy neighbor as
in
thyself?
Matthew something.
And what is the exact language? I mean, would that lead to like a broader, more expansive
I don't know.
uh
That's a great
uh
question. Let me see.
Rishon LeZion was the other place. Zichron Yaakov and Rishon LeZion.
All
So
right.
it's still there, and they're making wine for years, and the whole world is buying it.
Let's
So,
see what we got here.
what are we going to do with it?
because I imagine the Christians don't think of this in terms of the clan versus people out of the clan. It's just a universal. And we're seeing it more particularly.
Okay, this is interesting. We ready for this? Check it
Yeah.
out. Oh, this is delicious right here. This is really good. So, in one of the places that it comes from, in Mark 12, 30 through 31. Mark 12, 30 through 31. You ready for this? This is what Mark 12, 30 through 31 says. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all of your strength. That's like v'hafta, right? That's like v'hafta. So it says, I'm the line, Mark 12, 30 through 31. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all of your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. So in the footnotes, the line Mark 12:30 is actually a combination of Deuteronomy 6, 4, 5. And Mark 12:31, the next line, comes from Leviticus 19:18. So it's taking the text. I mean, it's fascinating, right? To be able to do this. It's taking the text. Oh, Merle, what happened? I didn't even see that you were not in there. It's taking the text and picking and choosing and creating I'm not even going to say another message. It's because they don't believe it's another message. They believe it's the intended message. And it goes back to Penina's point, right? That is it meant to be looked at as specifically line by line by line by line by line, or is it meant to be woven and that it's not linear? But we only understand it to be linear because as human beings, we are limited to that full understanding, right? What did we say they says like each commandment is worth the same. Why? There's no like list of hierarchy and commandments because at Sinai, it was all listed to us like in one sound. It was as like everything was just smushed together into one sound. But the way that human brains are able to interpret it has to be in some kind of linear fashion, right? So, Brad, that was a fabulous question because then it leads us to these other traditions that still use, right, those textual lines. But the Jewish people did that too, right? The rabbis did that too with Mishnah and Talmud, right? And then their interpretations and Rambam, right? The way that they boom, 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 to create a new tapestry, if you will. Okay. Woo, man, where'd this time go? Here we go. This is the next thing that I got for us. Unless are there other questions before we keep going?
I think the intention is there, but yet, like everything else, it took on pictures of what it is that the world is today. That's it.
All right. Here's my
The
next
seed was
question.
there, but how we really do today, it's not exactly the way the seed was put in there for that
Okay.
reason.
Here's my next question. Moving on, new topic. What is the difference? How many, does anybody ever play golf? Anybody play golf? Anybody played, is a golfer? Golf?
Welcome.
Anybody? What's that?
Tried to.
Tried to. Okay. What is the difference between these? Like, say I'm on a par 3. I'm standing at the where you tee off, where you start. And I know that they're in front of me, it's called the green, right? There's like 150 yards or say, it's a 3 par, right? 150 yards on the green, there's a cup with a hole, there's a hole and a flag. And next to it are these two, what's called sand traps. Okay. I hit the ball. It lands on the green. Okay, let's just say that. Lands on the green. But let's say I do it 2 times in a row. The first time I think to myself, don't hit it in the sand. Don't hit it in the sand. The second time I think to myself, hit it on the green. Hit it on the green. Result is the same, but what's different about my mindset? What's different
Not to
about my
go in
mindset?
this.
If the result is the same,
So
not
you
always
don't go in the grass, is that
the
it?
same, what's the difference in my mindset?
Well, in one case, you're thinking positively, and the other negatively.
Fabulous. Okay, one thing I'm thinking positively, the other thing I'm thinking negatively.
Okay.
And I met years ago. I was doing some research and like a sermon on growth mindset versus not and positive theology, negative theology. And there was some research that I read about people who are trying to quit smoking, right? People trying to quit smoking. Those who went in with the intention and the mindset of, I want to quit smoking because I don't want to die, versus the people who went into the mindset of, I want to live. The people who went into with the mindset of, I want to live, by more than 2/3 didn't go back to smoking, didn't fall off the wagon and were able to get. But those who went in with the mindset, I don't want to die, vast majority went back to smoking. Positive versus negative idea, right? So yeah, go Merle.
But that's, I mean, okay, you're using smoking as an example, but isn't that the same with any illness?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, because my internet went out, I'm clarifying.
No,
what
so
I-
we're talking about going into something with a positive mindset, negative mindset.
Okay,
All right. But then again, but it's not 100% either way. And then I think about with like positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. If for those of us who had children, blessed with children or whatnot, or work with kids, tutoring kids, what works better in your experiences? What works better? Like you go at the same time at the swimming pool and you see kids running, don't run, versus saying, walk, please. Same thing, different language.
I
Which
think
do we think would work better? What would work better on you?
positive,
Yeah.
but I think, working with kids or adults, I think people react to a positive tone of voice better than negative, where you feel like you're being put down or yelled at.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying how it works for me, or situations with the girls. with our granddaughters and how I react to certain things or they might react to certain things, depending on the issue that's being that we're involved in.
So what about ruling over others from a place of fear versus a place of benevolence?
I think fear is
What's going to keep people quote unquote in line?
I think a positive
You're right. What's going to quote unquote keep peace better?
I think a more
To
positive
rule
attitude.
benevolently or to rule out of fear? What will keep peace? All right, go ahead, Pina.
I think it's a very, very it's like dissecting in a laboratory, because you have the Ten Commandments. It's not all the same, are divided. You have the to do, and then you have the to do not. And there was a reason again for it. It's showing people that they have the ability to choose. They have the mentality to make decisions on their own. If they were not able to do that, they would have never become Hebrews by choice. And that's what the whole idea was. So you get laws. Yes, some people are not going they know. They're going to do it anyhow. They're going to kill each other. They're going to be not infidelity to the wife, they wouldn't be whatever. They wouldn't be good parents, or the children are not going to take care of them when they are old.
Okay.
The whole Commandment is divided.
Beseder,
Yes,
good, fine. We got 5 and
now you
5
have
kind
to
of
choose.
thing. However, but the what I want people to choose, what I want people to follow are the commandments. What is the best way? Is it the best way? Let me finish. Is it the best way for me to get people to follow the Ten Commandments? Positive.
Give them a choice.
Wait, let me
Give
finish.
them a choice. That's the whole
Make me
thing.
mute you. I'll do it. Am I gonna get people to follow the Ten Commandments out of benevolence or out of fear? Brad.
Well, we're still in the holiness code, are we not?
Okay.
So I want to think of this in terms of holiness.
Okay.
And I would think that the holiness answer would be more out of benevolence than out of fear.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Get ready for this. Get ready. You ready? Get ready. Here it is. Leviticus 26, 1 through 13. You shall not make idols for yourselves or set up for yourselves carved images or pillars or place figure stones in your land to worship upon, for I don't know your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and venerate my sanctuary, mine, Adonai's. If you follow my laws, okay, let's start at number 3. It's 26, 3 through 13. 26, 3 through 13. If you follow my laws and faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant you rains in the seasons. I will grant you peace. I will grant you right. Your army shall give chase to your enemies. Five of you shall chase to give to 100, and I will look into favor upon you. I will establish my abode in your midst. I will even present it in your midst. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. I am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be their slaves no more, who broke the bars of your yoke and made you walk erect. Okay, so it's 3 through 13. That's 11, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 11 lines of benevolence.
Okay, there are more lines of the other.
There are
But the
3 times.
But the benevolence comes first.
But there are 3 times more. but then
It's a
you know
matter
what
of
I noticed?
choices.
It's it's like a form of supervision. If you've ever supervised people, right? It's called sandwich supervision or Oreo supervision or something like that. First, you start with you butter them up with the good, then you rail them and you beat them down with your whatever it is that you got there. And then, but then when you see that they're just like, oy vavoy, this is it for me, then you kind of give them a little bit more of the cookie, right? You put the nice bread. It's that middle. I'm not even going to say another word for it because it's not appropriate. This other form of supervision that they call it, it's
The sandwich generation.
yeah, a sandwich, but what's in the middle is something, Lotto, we're not going to talk about. But that, because then, Brad, you're right. It starts with it and then it even ends with it. There's a couple of lines that end with it, but the vast majority, 3 times as much in the middle, is all the, right? Yet we all said we will do the things. Maybe it's also about the intention behind doing it. I will do something because of the love and it'll feel better, or I will do the thing because I'm scared to death. Both result in an action if it's for someone else. But since if it's really for our benefit, right? It goes back to that same thing. The difference between saying, Eved Pharaoh and Eved Adonai. It's the same thing, right? Being a slave of Pharaoh, who does it benefit? It benefits Pharaoh. Being a Eved of Adonai, why we translate it as worshiper, because that doesn't benefit God. If we believe God to be all powerful, all this, then it's irrelevant what we do.
Yeah.
It's there for our benefit, even though it's up in the middle. It's
So
101. Brad needs to pay his check and he have his dessert and keep riding. I want to wish everybody big Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank
And
you.
take care of each other.
Okay.
And be safe. And I'll see
You
you soon.
too.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.